Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Wednesday, 10 December. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Australia's social media ban has come into effect. South Korea has scrambled jets during a Chinese and Russian military drill, and the EU has opened an antitrust inquiry over Google's AI search summaries. So firstly, Australia's nationwide ban on social media accounts for children under the age of 16 took effect on Wednesday. The country passed a law that blocks minors from having social media accounts on platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Reddit last year. If companies fail to comply with the new rules to keep minors off the platform, they will face fines of up to 50 million Australian dollars or 30 million euro. So the key points are Australia has blocks minors from under the age of 16 from accessing major social media platforms, could face fines. Children began losing access as the law took effect on Wednesday. Tech companies and rights groups have criticised the moves, and other governments are studying Australia's model. So what? I think the last point to me is the big takeaway here. This implementation, how it goes, the rollout, how it's received by the public, how effective it is being closely studied by several other governments. I think even New Zealand has commented that they are looking at doing a similar thing in the next couple of years. So yeah, a lot of countries are essentially watching Australia as a test case here to see how it actually goes and if it will actually work and be effective. I think this is a good idea, as I don't think social media for the people under the age of 16 is very positive, and I think social media companies themselves know this. Stuff like, Facebook did the study into whether their platform is associated with kids having depression, and then when they found the results, they binned off the research because, it didn't look good for them. So yeah, I don't know, be interesting to see what happens here, and I'm sure lots of countries will be watching. And next, South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff said that Russian and Chinese aircraft entered the Korean Air Defense Identification Zone at around 10 a.m. local time on Tuesday. Seoul said it deployed fighter jets to take tactical measures in preparation for any contingencies in response. But the military said the planes did not violate South Korean's airspace, only entering the wider identification zone area that it monitors for security reasons. They flew in and out of the zone in operations lasting an hour before leaving the area, South Korean news reported. So what? I mean, it's likely this is just a show of force. They will know exactly where this identification zone is, so them flying in and out of it is likely a show just designed to either both test South Korea's response, see what jets scramble, how fast they scramble. Similar stuff to what we see in Europe when we see drones fly into NATO airspace. But also to let South Korea know, China and Russia both operate in the area, and they are people you need to be keeping an eye on. This kind of comes at an interesting time because South Korea, due to the tariffs, has been looking towards China a bit more in terms of trade relationships. But, stuff like this will continue to highlight to South Korea that they need to ensure that they maintain a strong relationship with the United States, who are their primary security partner. And lastly, the European Commission said on Tuesday that will look into whether Google is breaking EU competition rules by not paying publishers enough or by setting unfair conditions to keep their content out of the search engine's AI-generated summaries. So what? I think this is a pretty interesting move, and one that I think a lot of companies would be keen to see implemented. I've heard just stories about companies who have lost significant amounts of money because people are not clicking through to their websites, and therefore they're not generating any ad revenue. One was essentially like a charity that made walking tracks. I remember reading the story about it, and they have seen their website traffic drop something like 80%. So the small amount of money that they made through ad revenue, which essentially kept part of their charity and their website running, is no longer viable due to AI's search summary, which essentially just summarizes what's on a website in that top bar on Google now. Other stories are from larger companies who have lost significant revenue in the tens of millions. So this move by Google is having like real world effects on some companies that they won't be liking, and essentially it just keeps people on Google's platform, which is good for Google but not good for anyone else who wants to be drawing people in who are searching for their businesses or their ideas. So we'll have to wait and see what the EU actually does and what they actually say about it, but could be a good move as I suppose they're probably not going to change it now. This is how search works. So fuck knows, boys. Anyway, that's been your Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Hopefully not too hungover. See you.